Mike Fitzpatrick is president of the Praise and Worship Club at the Johnson Space Center, and he joins us now by Skype from Houston. Mike, thanks a lot for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Briefly tell us, what was it that started this whole incident, this whole case?
Well, we have a gathering, the JSC Praise and Worship Club, and we meet every so often to sing praise and worship songs to the Lord. And we put our meeting notices in the JSC Today, which is the electronic newsletter that goes out daily. Other clubs put their notices in there. For a particular session, we said the theme for this meeting is Jesus is Our Life. And so a few days after I put that notice in JSC Today, I got a call from the JSC legal office saying that I needed to refrain from putting in the name Jesus into the newsletter because it was a violation of the Establishment Clause.
Now, your club has been in operation since 2001, and you haven't had any legal problems before then. So do you think it was just the name Jesus that started all of this?
It was definitely the name Jesus that started all of this.
And what did the attorneys tell you?
They said that it could be denoted by a casual observer, that it could be an establishment of religion by the federal government if we put a sectarian name such as Jesus in the notice. And so I needed to refrain from doing that.
So what has been the response of the people in the club, and where do you go from here?
Well, everybody in the club was really surprised. I mean, NASA's had a long history of tolerance and even encouragement of religious expression by private individuals. And so we were really surprised that we would get this kind of rebuke. Yeah. And so everybody was disappointed that we had that response. So initially, when I talked to the lawyer, told them, okay, we'll refrain from putting in Jesus, but I want to retain legal counsel. And so we contacted Liberty Institute. And so now that the story has broken, that NASA's banned Jesus, and we're trying to resolve this.
All right. And you don't think that NASA paid any particular attention to your group from a legal standpoint before because the name Jesus hadn't come up?
That's correct. I mean, we've had a few private individuals express concern to the legal office and sometimes directly to me, but we've always had support on being able to meet and do our praise and worship gathering. It was only when we put Jesus in the newsletter that we got a rise out of the legal office.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your club. What does it do? How do you operate?
Well, it's actually very simple. We meet during lunch times every so often. For a long time, for about 8 years, we met monthly during the lunch period to praise and worship the Lord. That was the mandate that I got from the Lord, that He wanted to be praised and worshiped at Johnson Space Center. And so we set up the band, we sent out notices, we got it going. We basically pray, short prayer, and we sing for about 40 minutes or so, praise and worship songs. We end with prayer, and we ask if anybody needs individual prayer, and that's basically it. That's what the group does.
And what kind of impact do you think it's had on the Space Center?
Well, we've got a lot of positive impact. A lot of people feedback, even people who don't come, I think have appreciated that we're there and that we're lifting up the Space Center, and that Jesus is lifted up. I think it emboldens other believers that are there that, hey, we're not alone. And it also, I think, lets the world know that scientists and engineers believe in Jesus.
Right. So at this point, what kind of legal outcome are you hoping for?
Well, I know NASA sent out their kind of general notice, but we'd like a certainty that what we're doing is acceptable. I'd really like an apology from the Johnson Space Center, from NASA, that our rights were infringed and that these rights are restored. So in no uncertain terms, that we can put Jesus back into the newsletter.
All right, Mike Fitzpatrick, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.